It is that time, my friends, as we enter presidential race season. We're on the back end of 2023. We are soon to be entering 2024, and we're going to see the primaries start to heat up. Political advertising is going to start skyrocketing. This may be one of the most expensive presidential campaigns in history. I dare to think it will be. And the reason is, though we have a sitting Democrat president, it appears there's going to be a primary on the Democrat side. Whereas a time like this would typically just be the opposition party fielding its candidates to figure out who's going to run. You got both. It's funny. Look, Joe Biden is the favorite in the PredictIt market and in the polls. But RFK's, he's polling at like 20% for Democrats. And that says a lot. But my friends, we have this article from Vanity Fair explaining, oh, too well, why you should probably vote for Donald Trump. I love it because they're trying to frame this as like a reason not to vote for him. But I'm pretty sure every Trump supporter reading this headline is like, oh, yes, that's why I'm voting for Trump. Vanity Fair writes, Trump will use the Justice Department to destroy his enemies in a second term. Former officials warn. Uh-oh. You mean Donald Trump, if he gets elected, he's going to do what y'all are trying to do to him? Yeah, sure. See, here's the thing. These people try to make it seem like Trump is this evil despot who's going to weaponize the DOJ to go after innocent people who are just trying to save this good nation from his fascism. Please. Donald Trump was rather ineffective in a lot of ways. But he certainly was not some psychotic Russian spy who was seeking to destroy the United States and bring about fascism. That's insane. And so the DOJ, Democrat PACs, and other lawyers weaponized the legal system against him. And now they're trying to put him in prison. So did Trump do anything to warrant going to prison? In my view, based on everything we've already seen, the answer is actually maybe. Yeah, actually maybe. But let me explain what that actually maybe means. You could argue based on some of these laws that Donald Trump did violate them. When it comes to records at the federal level. Now, I don't know about the New York stuff. That seems silly. Whether or not he has federal records, sure, it could fall into the statute if proven. But the only problem is that we allow presidents to take records. They have the authority to do so. They have plenary declassification powers. And so if we're going to look at, say, Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden, who did not have the right to take records and declassify them, then no, Donald Trump should not be charged for anything. And that's the point. If they were being consistent and going after everybody, maybe there would be a slap on the wrist case against Donald Trump. He's the president. He can take executive documents. That's his right. But, maybe a slap on the wrist case like, hey, don't do that. You got to turn him back in. And there's a big stink about it. And it ultimately ends there. With Hillary Clinton, you had BleachBit, server wiped. You had phones smashed with hammers. Those are public records. Now, of course, she tried claiming it was just emails about yoga. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what they were. They were public records you destroyed. Any criminal charges there? No. So you know what I would like to see? I would like to see Donald Trump appoint an AG, get the DOJ back on track, and go after people who are actually breaking the law. And for this, they say he is going to destroy his enemies. But you know what's funny about this headline? They're not saying he's doing anything wrong. They're just saying he will use it to destroy his enemies. So, okay. And am I supposed to cry about this? Now, here's the interesting point with this headline. Are people who hate Trump supposed to be scared or concerned about this? Why? Your attitude is going to be like, I don't know who his enemies are. Why would I care? For me, someone who pays attention, what I see in this headline is Donald Trump is going to clean up the corruption that we see. This is exactly what I wanted in these bureaucratic institutions. Fire these people, criminally charge some of these people, as he should. But what does the left see? Who are they concerned about protecting? The CIA? The FBI? Who? Who in the FBI? Like, the left is just like, oh, Trump is bad. He's going to do bad things. Are these liberals and leftists so ingrained in the cult that they would vaguely defend faceless FBI and CIA figures? See, this is what I don't. You have no emotional attachment to these organizations. So why care? And of course, they'll make up some excuse saying something like, because of the integrity of this nation, these organizations defend and protect us. Oh, get out of here, dude. No, they don't. You're not going to simultaneously argue that cops aren't upholding the law, but that federal intelligence agencies are. Sorry, not buying it. You want to abolish the police? Let's start at the federal level. You'll get all the libertarians and a handful of conservatives right on board with you. Here's what Vanity Fair writes. Oh, Bess Levin. Earlier this year, Rolling Stone reported that Donald Trump had taken to asking close advisors for the names of Justice Department staffers and senior FBI agents who have worked on federal probes involving him. Because in the event he wins 2024 election, he wants them quickly and immediately fired. Is that it? Is this it? Come on, I want him criminally charged. Sure. That level of petty retribution is, of course, totally within the character for the ex-president, who regularly fired people over Twitter when he was in office and then insulted their intelligence to boot. That's kind of funny. But apparently it's nothing compared to what former administration officials fear he'll do due to his perceived enemies, a group that includes Joe Biden in the event he wins a second term. Why would anyone go to bat for Joe Biden? Full stop. Vote for Newsom. Don't care. You want to vote for crackpot, corrupt individuals? Literally, take your pick. But why would you defend the name Joe Biden, like that guy? You're better off if Gavin Newsom runs, to be completely honest. So how about this one? Left, liberals, you just say, yes, Joe Biden is bad. We don't like him. We're voting for Newsom. Newsom is younger, smarmier, but slicker, more likely to be able to articulate his thoughts and thus win an election. So why defend Joe Biden? It's the weirdest thing. If anything, it just makes it seem like this is going to bolster people like RFK. Well, here's where we're at right now. I love the current trend in news. Trump seeks to delay trial in Mar-a-Lago documents case. Oh, boy. What could this mean? Perhaps it will actually happen. Prosecutors had already asked District Judge Eileen Cannon for a delay until December 11th from an initial date of August 14th so as to give both sides more time to prepare. But in the filing late on Monday, Trump's lawyers said a December trial would deny them reasonable time to prepare and described the government's request schedule as unrealistic. The court should therefore withdraw the current order setting trial and postpone any consideration of a new trial date, the lawyer said. Trump, the frontrunner for the 2024 Republican nomination, pleaded not guilty, etc., etc. You all know, but here's the point. If they delay the case until after the presidential election, which is what is being proposed essentially, Donald Trump, as president, will either just commute. Well, I think in this case, it's a pardon outright because commuting is after conviction. Or he may just go to his now underlings and say, drop the charges. No more charges against me. And that's it. He wins. He's president. Even if he ends up getting locked up and he wins, this all goes away. This is the big battle right now. The reason why Donald Trump had to run. And maybe that was the plan. Maybe that was the plan all along. Let us enter the conspiracy realm, my friends. From Interactive Polls, 2024 National Republican Primary. Donald Trump is currently leading nationally by 39 points, with DeSantis at 17% and Vivek Ramaswamy coming up in a close third. Well, I shouldn't say close third because Ramaswamy and Pence are rivaling each other, and that's kind of hilarious because Pence is awful and Vivek is excellent. I would not be surprised if we see Vivek Ramaswamy displace DeSantis. Why? Vivek is a man of character. He is intelligent, quick-witted, tactful. The dude knows how. There's a video going viral right now where he's giving a speech and a woman starts yelling about Republicans. And he says, no, come back and you say what you want to say. Vivek, he knows how to handle this stuff. I'm a big fan of the guy. DeSantis, man, he doesn't seem to have it. I'm not trying to drag the guy. I am not trying to insult the guy. I think his policies and his governorship was excellent in Florida. But man, does he not know how to run a presidential campaign. Which brings me to conspiracy realm. Why do they indict Donald Trump? To force him to run. That's right. We weren't sure a year or so ago, or maybe a little bit longer, if Trump would actually try to run again. And a lot of people felt like he was out of the game. But then he decided to run. And some people suggest it's because he's facing criminal charges. He has no choice. It's either spend the rest of your life in prison or win the presidency and pardon yourself or get these charges dropped. Would DeSantis have pardoned Trump? I don't know. Now, it's a long shot. It's very conspiratorial. But the argument is the Democrats fear Ron DeSantis because DeSantis is kind of boring intentionally. And Donald Trump is shocking and annoying to many people. There was one poll put out by IA Polls showing that at the national level, Ron DeSantis beats Biden by 3 points, by 3 more points than Trump does. To be fair, both of them beat Biden anyway, so that's why I'm not convinced it will be Joe Biden. But Donald Trump would lead Joe Biden by 10 points, and Ron DeSantis, I'm sorry, this is wrong. This is in Florida specifically. Ron DeSantis leads Biden by 13 points in Florida. Not a national poll, not a national. My point is, though, when it comes to unaffiliated voters and independents, Ron DeSantis seems to get a boost. From what I've seen going out and talking to people, many people are like, I just can't deal with Trump. But Ron DeSantis, I could. Now, we, those in the know who pay attention, may have very serious criticisms of Ron DeSantis, a lack of charisma, a terrible press team, and awful fans who are just toxic and sour and salty. But many people, regular people, probably don't know or care about any of that stuff. So when it comes to the middle of the road, maybe it's Ron DeSantis, which makes me wonder about many of these bot accounts that are trying to make everybody despise Ron DeSantis. And I will say it. I will say it cleanly, and I will say it again. You go on Twitter, and what do you find? The people who support DeSantis are vicious, toxic, angry, condescending, insulting, no matter what you say. No matter what you say. You say something positive about DeSantis, you will be barrage. You'll see a barrage of insults. And it's not just me. Other people have discussed similar things, which makes me wonder. On The View, they discussed how they don't want Ron DeSantis to win. So, if these people are really willing to play dirty, what would you do to make sure Trump is the nominee? You would pretend to be a supporter and insult anybody who defends Ron DeSantis, acting like you're a supporter. It's very clever, isn't it? Now, a bit circuitous and a little too complicated for me. That's why I call it conspiracy world, because I'm not saying I believe it's true. I'm just saying it's an argument presented by people online, which probably means it's wrong. The simple solution is Ron DeSantis has really awful fans. They're nasty people. He lacks charisma, and he's probably not going to win this one. The conspiracy view is that the media is lining up against Ron DeSantis because they fear he could actually beat whoever the Democrats have to offer. But it's tough. You take a look at Candace Owens' opinion. She says Ron DeSantis' failure to launch, he's done. Mike Cernovich says same thing, that there's no path to the presidency. And you know what? I mostly agree. We're seeing DeSantis sink in the polls. I mean, look at this, 17% now. Let me make this clear for all of you. RFK Jr. is polling comparably better than Ron DeSantis on the Democrat side. Isn't that crazy? RFK Jr. came out of nowhere, and Democrats have every reason to attack him because he goes against the grain of the corporate press. Ron DeSantis is the most popular Republican politician outside of Donald Trump. Governor of Florida, leading a million votes more in the gubernatorial election than last time around. And he's polling in the primary worse than RFK against Biden. Now, to be fair, Biden sucks and Trump is popular. But you'd think Ron DeSantis would be doing better. So I'm not convinced. But I'm not going to be so blind as not to bring up important counterpoints. That is, why is CNN insulting Ron DeSantis? Makes you wonder. It's because CNN wants Trump. Maybe it's not because they think Trump will lose. Maybe it's because they think Trump will win. CNN knows, oh boy, the ratings were just so juicy when you had President Trump. Oh, they can't ignore it. But we have this from the New York Times as well. Opinion. Ron DeSantis doesn't know whether he's coming or going. The corporate press does not like Ron DeSantis. And don't get me wrong, they don't like Donald Trump either. But one thing I find truly fascinating about this presidential election is that if you look a year or two ago, Trump, down and out. I appeared on the Daily Wire's live stream with the crew from the Daily Wire. It was awesome. We went down for a week. We had a great time with the Daily Wire crew. And I said, I feel like I'm probably more for Ron DeSantis. And I'm sitting there with, Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and, Michael Knowles. And I said, look, I like Trump for his no ESG stuff, banning wokeness in government contracting, foreign wars. But this is after 2020. The election is over. It's, I think it was 2022. Was it 2022? Man, I can't remember. It might have been. What was it? And I was like, Ron DeSantis, I think. I think it was a year and a half ago. I'm like, Ron DeSantis. Because he's been an effective leader. He's been calm. He's been rational. And in Florida, he's done a fantastic job. He's like Trump, but he's nice. And that's the tact we need. What changed? What changed? A year and a half on, Ron has sank in the polls. Trump has flipped it, taken back over. What has changed? I'll tell you. Ron DeSantis has the worst press team imaginable. He has some of the worst advisors imaginable. And when we hear about the moneyed interests behind him, they say neocons, people like Ken Griffin, etc., then you start to get it. A lot of people were mocking Ron DeSantis, saying that he was basically the Jeb campaign. And I just cringe at that. So stupid. No, come on. Jeb was so awful. Jeb as a person lacked any, like, I'm sorry. You can't compare Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis did a great job. He's doing a great job as governor of Florida. Okay. I think he would have been a great VP. I'd advocated for that. But you know what I think it is? Ron looked to these people and said, why don't you give me advice on how to run a presidential campaign? Because I think you guys have the resources and the experience, and I'm going to run a presidential campaign. And with your help, I think I'll win. And then what happens? These guys don't know how to run a presidential campaign. They basically they put weights around his ankles and pushed him into the ocean. Ron DeSantis was doing so well as governor of Florida, and then all of a sudden, he gets these press people who can't see up from down, left from right, and look where he is now. He's sinking in the polls. I tell you, man, I know people have been on Timcast IRL, any one of them, that could have just whispered into the ear for 10 seconds of Ron DeSantis, and he would be leading Donald Trump in the polls. But man, talk about the worst advice imaginable. And now we can see over the prediction market, Trump's leading. There was a period where I think Ron DeSantis was beating Trump. I could be wrong about it. Actually, let's just do this. Was that ever the case? I think we can only go back 90 days, so it's hard to see. But I could have sworn that there was a period where DeSantis had flipped on Trump, and it seemed like Trump would be down and out. But look at this crash. DeSantis was coming up, baby. It's only in the past 3 months. PredictIt market showing from 35 down to 21. Man, and Trump is on the rise because Trump is Trump. Trump knows what he's doing. Trump has made that recovery, and Ron DeSantis is tanking. Now, it's possible that Ron DeSantis turns things around. But, his PR people, the most important team behind him, his advisors telling him what to say, when to say it, the people who made his announcement campaign, talk about abysmal. And the funny thing is, and oh, do I revel in saying this, when I come out and say, what happened? They tell me to F myself. And I love it. I have no loyalty to Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump or Republicans. I don't like the Republican Party. For the most part, they're ineffective. Controlled opposition, some say. The Democrats are awful as well. RFK sounds nice, but he's had a bunch of stupid things in the past. Hey, if I was going to go for it, I'd say Dave Smith, Libertarian Party. But when are they announcing? Come on, guys. Give me something to root for. I guess Vivek Ramaswamy is pretty awesome. I can root for him. I want to see Donald Trump win because I want that revenge. And, that's what it's all about, all right? The more likely candidate to just go in and fire people is Donald Trump. I'll take what I can get. His foreign policy was great. I want to see him get rid of the weird wokeness at the federal level. I think there's some opportunities with Donald Trump. But Ron DeSantis also presented some opportunities until he decided to crash and burn. It's really amazing. When they made their presidential announcement video, it was the cringiest, least charismatic thing I'd ever seen. And instead of saying like, yikes, guys, we really dropped the ball on this one. Why are we sinking in the polls? They said, it's because people like Tim Pool are mad at you. Let's insult him on the internet. Okay. Dude, insult me. I don't care. I have no loyalty to you. I want to explain something to all you guys. I don't know where you as an individual stand. What I can say is the first time we had Steve Bannon on the show, we got a bunch of messages from people saying, I had never listened to Steve Bannon before nor heard from him, and I thought he was crazy. And then they heard, oh, he's just a populist. He's got some left views, some conservative views. He wants to tax the rich. Goes a little further than me in some of those areas. He wants a wealth tax. I think that's crazy. Yeah, Steve Bannon. They call him far right. Marjorie Taylor Greene comes on the show. I get a bunch of people messaging me saying, I thought she was crazy. I'd never heard her speak before. Why? The reason why people like coming on Timcast IRL, yes, we get a large live audience, but it's not staunch conservatives. It's not hardline conservatives. We've done polls. It's like moderate right, moderate libertarian leaning individuals with many moderate disaffected liberal types. What that means is when we come out and say, yo, DeSantis, we like you. Your policies are good, but you're flailing. You should listen. It's not to listen to me. It's the people who watch this show. Instead, what does this DeSantis camp do? They go for the neocons. They go for those who want to make the Republican Party great again in the image of neocon laziness. They want to go back to 20 years ago, the George W. Bush era. That's what they want. And it's boring, ineffective, stodgy, and uncool. And they've hit the nail on the head with the hammer. But are you going to win in today's day and age if that's the case? You would sacrifice all of the new voters Trump brought to the Republican Party, independents, people who never voted before? Apparently so. If Ron DeSantis went the Trump campaign route without the, let's just say, more volatile behaviors, I believe they would have won. But instead, they went the inverse. Let me tell you, the DeSantis campaign went the vile route without the charisma. And it's leaving me scratching my head. Ron, why didn't you go the charismatic, non-toxic route? Donald Trump's got charisma in spades, but boy, is he aggressive. And he says naughty things that pisses people off. And I'm like, if you can capture that power and charisma and leadership, but knock off a little bit of the more volatile behavior, you're going to win. Instead, the DeSantis campaign goes as volatile as possible with no charisma. And instead of listening to the critiques, what do? They double down. So be it, man. I don't care if you win or lose. Have fun in Florida. You're going to be termed out, and then who knows where you're going. You're not going to be president in 2028. Everybody was saying he should wait till 2028, but that was never reasonable because he's going to be out of politics by then. What's he going to do? He can't run for the Senate. Congress? Nah. This was his only opportunity. And instead of getting some strong voices behind him, he went the trash route. And his opening announcement was done in a miserable way. I'm running to lead the great American comeback. That's we're gonna make America come back. Sad. I was like, when I saw that, I said, could Ron just maybe like watch Captain America? There's that scene in Captain America where the Winter Soldier one, and hey, look, man, love him or hate him, these people, Hollywood, they got writers. Let's talk about Captain America is. He's a soldier who loves this country, who lied over and over again, desperate to serve this nation, to fight Nazis. That's the story. Now that's based, not cringe. That's not woke. Conservatives should be praising the story behind Captain America. And so what you get is the perfect story for what's happening right now. In Winter Soldier, you watch it. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it, okay? I know it's a superhero movie, a lot of people roll their eyes, but just watch it. A man dedicated to this nation discovers that a corrupt cabal has taken over the government and is weaponizing it against its own people. Come on! It writes itself. And Captain America breaks into the SHIELD building, gets in the microphone, and gives this off-the-cuff speech where he says, I know many of you still believe in what we're doing, and if you stand with me, we will save SHIELD and this country, blah, blah, blah. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not really saying what his speech was. And then a bunch of people who are loyal to this nation stand up against those who are not because they believed in the image and the vision of Captain America, a man who would sacrifice everything for this nation. Could Ron DeSantis not just like watch that once? After Steve Rogers, Captain America, gives his speech, then Falcon, his friend, says, did you write that? And he's like, no. He's like, wow. Like, that was the point. That was the idea of Captain America, played by Chris Evans, who's like kind of woke. And that's what really grinds my gears. Could you not have just watched that to understand how to be a bit more charismatic? I want you to envision this. A Ron DeSantis who launches his campaign and says, in 2016, Donald Trump led the charge against corruption within our government. And for this, they weaponized the machine against him. While I still believe in that vision of Donald Trump, I believe it is now my chance to take up that mantle and lead the charge against those who would be corrupt. With no disrespect to Donald Trump, I believe I will do a better job. And if you believe in me, a vote for me means we will take back this country, weed out the corruption in a way that unfortunately Trump was not able to do. Stand with me, and we will reunite this nation, and we will end the terminal corruption that is destroying us from within. Please, dude. He couldn't do it. So instead, what do we have? Donald Trump posting silly, nasty things on Truth, which at the very least have more aggression in their voice. And so what does Amanda do? For me, if Ron DeSantis comes out and says, I'm going to lead the great American comeback, I'm like, I don't know what that means. And boy, do you sound unsure of yourself. And Donald Trump comes out and goes, these nasty people in government, we're going to arrest them. We're going to lock them up. And I'm just like, sure, I guess I'll take it. And that's what's laid before me. Ron DeSantis, unsure of himself. Donald Trump, very sure. I will wind it down by just saying this, simply in sales terms. I want you to imagine before you stands a Donald Trump and a Ron DeSantis, and they're trying to sell you a new car. And one guy walks up, he's all smarmy and says, you know, look, the car's really good. It's the best car. Trust me, you're gonna love it. You got to buy this car because, quite honestly, there's no good car other than my car, and you stink if you buy a different car. And you're like, you're chuckling, it's whatever. The other sales guy walks up and says, it's a good car, I guess. I think it would be good if you drove it. It's fair to say, it's a good car. And then the issue is, when it comes to sales, the man who is unsure of himself does not sell the car. The man who is sure does. Why? What am I supposed to do? We are all but humble and reasonable people, and for this, sometimes we get taken advantage of. But this is the reality. If someone comes to you and says, listen, I got to be honest, I don't know that much about the car. I think it'll probably be good. Give it a shot. You're going to be like, dude, if you aren't confident in the car, a guy can come up and say, I can tell you all about all the specs. It's got it's got this component and that component. It's got auto locking doors. I like, what car doesn't these days? But they can say these things and then be like, but is it for you? Honestly, I don't know. Maybe you got to make a decision. You're going to say, okay, well, thanks. Have a nice day. A guy can come up and say, best car ever. You will never drive a better car. And you're going to be like, why? Trust me. And you're thinking, look, I don't know about cars. I don't know about this transmission over that transmission. I just need someone who's going to give me that assurance. I know these guys can be smarmy liars, salesmen, but I'm going to go with the guy who's confident over the guy who's not. That's what it's going to be every day. So the real opportunity we had here with Ron DeSantis, which the ball has been dropped, maybe he can pick it back up, was to be like Trump with confidence and aggression, policy, but with a smooth tact and vigor that he did not bring us. Sad. Vivek Ramaswamy may be that guy. Maybe. He is, when I look at Vivek, I see a guy who is hitting 10 out of 10 across the board. However, Vivek doesn't have that imposing figure. Nothing I can do about it. In all other areas, he's maxed out. So we'll see. We'll see. The question, I guess, in the end is, do they want Trump to win because he can't? I suppose only time will tell. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.